welcome to another segment of Coffee Talk. I hope you could bring a good cup of joe with you because we have one of the leading technical consultant experts in the accounting industry, Randy Johnston with K2 Enterprises. For those who don't know, Randy is one of the 2004 through 2024 Accounting Today's top 100 most influential people, top 25 thought leaders in the accounting industry from 2011 through 2024, inducted into the CPA Practice Advisor Accounting Hall of Fame in 2011, has started his own multiple businesses, including K2 Enterprises, taught technology at many universities and many colleges, including Huntington Community College, James Madison University, Western Washington University, and the University of Central Oklahoma. Over 40 years of management and technology consulting experience in technology and the accounting industry. Welcome, Randy. So bringing the accounting industry a little bit more into our technical lingo, we hear this buzzword EDR, MDR, and why firms, even if they don't understand it, they just know that they need to adopt, they're thinking they need to adopt EDR and MDR. Can you give a very high level overview on what are these two concepts and how they benefit firms and what does it mean to them at the end of the day?
Yeah, so let's go down the EDR side first. That stands for endpoint detection and threat response. And it's really an endpoint security solution that continuously monitors end user devices to detect and respond to cyber threats like ransomware and malware. Originally, this term was coined by Gartner's Anton Chivakin. And he really defined it at that point as a solution that records and stores endpoint system level behaviors. So the softwares tend to use data analytics to understand what is suspicious behavior. Now, Chris, we've been around each other a long time, and if we just go back to antivirus, because this is clearly a step up from the old antivirus days, you know that the antivirus originally was signature based, like Symantec or McAfee was, and then it became heuristic. So that was more like the Vipers or the Webroots of the world. And then it stepped on up into the whitelist type of approaches. And so those three different levels of antivirus clearly have different capabilities. Well, endpoint detection is really trying to block malicious activity, and there are a number of other features that are pretty fascinating about the way that it works. But there are so many benefits because EDR itself has continuous monitoring to it. It has advanced threat protection. It has automated detection, and it is integrated with other threat intelligence, and it actually does some managed threat hunting along the way. And it gives, providers like CTROM much better visibility into the environment, much earlier threat detection, and much better proactive defenses along the way. So, the bottom line for me, when somebody wants a real simple, instead of that long answer on EDR is just a more sophisticated proactive defense system.
What about MDR?
Well, now MDR is another game, okay? Because on the MDR side, the MDR tools that are out there, or managed detection and response is what that stands for, it combines these tools we just laid out with EDR along with human expertise. And here we're really looking for the threats, threat hunting, if you will, and there's proactive monitoring and proactive response. So the main benefit to MDR is it limits the impact of the threats without the need for additional staffing. So think of it from your own environment as just a way to augment your IT profile. Most MDR SOC centers really operate 24/7. They always have on that. And they reduce the time to detect and therefore the time to respond. See, part of the problem, Chris, is these threats have gotten stronger. Many of the threats or attacks had days and weeks before they were discovered. MDR often can reduce it to a matter of a few minutes, I would say a few seconds, but that's probably a little too quick. But it uh, helps technicians discover there's a problem and respond to it pretty quickly. So MDR basically improves security posture along the way. It detects and stops sophisticated threats very, very quickly. And in general, it allows you to respond to the threats more effectively and keep the endpoints running. You can restore the endpoints and so forth. So think of it as kind of a 1-2 punch. You've got the EDR on the front side and a lot more support monitoring, if you will, with MDR.
And I imagine marrying up, let's say, an NGAV that has an EDR component working with it, and then also an MDR in the back end, usually done by maybe even a couple of separate companies helping with that effort, can really minimize the potential of a cyber attack.
It really can. And in other coffee talks, we've talked about like multi-factor authentication fatigue, MFA fatigue. Well, in this world of bad actors, there's a lot of alert fatigue that occurs.
Mm,
So the technicians that are kind of watching this, and you and I have seen these audit logs. There's thousands of entries. So how do you determine which one is the bad actor? And trying to staff for that is tough because how do you prioritize? How do you know which ones are really, a threat? And then for that matter, how much time do you investigate on that? And again, MDR is trying to help with some of that, and it really guides the responses along the way.
Yeah, and I've also seen EDRs. It's like a microphone, but it only amplifies the noise that's really potentially relevant. And then what we've also seen is, and an accounting firm trying to do EDR and MDR by themselves is an extremely difficult task. But if they find the right vendor, the security vendor, that MDR, what we've seen is that MDR will have a playbook, if you will, that if it detects a threat, it will play that playbook and actually cease the threat immediately in its tracks before it has a chance to go to the next level.
Mhm. And as these providers are getting more sophisticated, they're able to extend their responses, might be a way to refer to that. Now, I think in a prior coffee talk, you and I talked about zero threat,
Mhm.
type of environments. And to me, this is all kind of maneuvering into this new security profile where you have a complete trust but verify type of environment, and we're not quite to the zero trust type of environment. I think I said zero threat before, but zero trust. That's kind of a big deal here because I really believe that zero trust is a idealistic way to
Mhm.
have our security work, and it makes perfect sense. It's just so doggone labor intensive and in most cases expensive today that most people can't really consider zero trust. But these MDR systems, I think, are more sophisticated than your managed security information and event management systems. At
Mhm.
least that's where I see this playing out. And so this becomes alphabet soup. When I think about our practitioners that might be listening to this, they're used to three-letter acronyms and 3 and 4 digit codes in the IRS tax world. But here, these various IT acronyms, people are still kind of making them up as they go. They're trying to figure out how to call them, and not everything that's an MDR or an EDR, they're not all the same.
Right. Yeah, the other thing that we would recommend on our end is working with an MDR that has that, because sometimes human beings are not fast enough. Even a 15-minute response time, it could be game over. So MDRs really need to have a pre-playbook. If this happens, do this immediately, shut down the network. Seconds are forever when it comes to cyber attack. What are you seeing as far as trends in the accounting industry as a whole, and any recommendations to firms that have heard that they about this EDR and MDR theme? What is your recommendation on the next steps, if any, at this point?
Well, in most cases, you're going to have to be in hosting environments or in very large environments with a lot of IT resources to be able to implement EDR, MDR. It is actually rare that smaller firms can have enough IT resources to get this done. So we do see a trend because it's kind of like the next weapon in the arsenal against bad actors. And the bad actors are getting are getting better faster than the good actors can respond. And that's been an ongoing escalation arms war over the past 20 years or more. But this seems to be the next major maneuver in terms of protecting your firm and your clients' data.
What are the other considerations when evaluating EDR, MDR solutions? Is something that firms should try to do in-house? Let's say you are a medium to large size firm. Do you think this is something that can be done in-house, or does it really make sense for firms to adopt a vendor that specializes in this type of security solutions?
Well, almost always you're going to have to listen to the vendor's pitches, and
Mm.
only if the IT people are technically literate in security can they even understand the pitches. Now, um, in preparation for our conversation today, I actually tried to get a total of the number of EDR, MDR vendors out there, and there's not dozens. I think there's around 100. And not all EDRs, MDRs are created equal, not even close, as it turns out. I think there's a lot of separation here. And part of the issue, Chris, is if you're trying to do the in-house evaluation, uh, you're going to have to listen to the pitches and be able to discern fact from fiction. And in many cases, the vendors who are doing the sales pitch to you don't even understand the limitation of their products or don't understand everything that can be done. So the problem is there's a lot of, what do we want to say, fear, uncertainty, doubt being sold. The old FUD factor has come into play with a lot of these EDR sales. So you're far better off restricting your evaluation to some of the leading products in the marketplace.
Yeah, one thing we mentioned is first step adopting an NGAV. There's the big three out there, which there may be a big two now. Who knows what's going on with VMware and Carbon Black at the moment? But CrowdStrike right there in the front center, obviously Sentinel-1. And what we've seen is because they capture that insight data that often EDRs and MDRs leverage to get that intrusive level, that's really the next step. What are you seeing in terms of EDR and MDR requirements for firms when it comes to insurance compliance or any of the compliances that we mentioned in with FTC or WISP?
The cyber insurance companies have actually been a little slower to require in this area. They have not given premium relief when this has been deployed, at least so far. So I think the insurance industry might be a couple of years behind. I don't know if you're seeing anything different on that, but we're still seeing irrational requirements on a lot of the cyber insurance policies that are so 2020, right?
Mm.
They're 4 or 5 years in the past, and it's like, who's writing this stuff and who's doing your risk on this? Because whoever your underwriter is doesn't understand the problem. But I am not seeing any super favorable treatment on the cyber insurance policies at this point. Now, Chris, I've reviewed about 30 different cyber insurance policies for various clients, and I've read them end to end. And it's an interesting read, by the way, because I'm looking at them saying, oh yeah, well, this is interesting. This is an interesting restriction, but many of the tenants are clearly in favor of the insurance company minimizing their exposure and their eventual payments of the premium in a return of premium, if you will.
And that's if you're lucky enough to find a vendor. I think there's been a 65% drop off on vendors even offering cyber insurance because of the all the claims.
Yeah, and there was a report, and it came from multiple different directions, so I suspect it had some merit to it, that there was indications that cyber insurance would not be available at any price in 2025, and that's getting pretty close. I don't think it's going to turn out to be accurate, but if your 65% number is right, notice half of the providers being gone. I wouldn't be surprised to see another half fall off. And based on the claims that I've known to be paid this year, there's going to be some more losses on those insurance companies, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you learned something new and will help you and your firm improve your processes. And if you still want to get more information and tips and best practices, reach out to Randy directly and from the experts, and subscribe to our channel for more videos and news. Cheers.